All right. I am here with John, who plays Legolas on in the Pen Pals in Barovia game. I guess that's the
Yeah,
title.
I
Um,
mean, our version of the Curse of Strahd.
yeah, our version of the Curse of Strahd. So this is the first time that we've done this. I mean, we've done this a few times, the post-game discussion. But you guys may be listening. There may be somebody listening. There are people watching this game. So I can show you the metrics. It's interesting. They don't watch like the whole thing, but there's a lot of people just checking it out and kind of skimming. So maybe these are going to get some more hits. And
Yeah, maybe people are curious as to,
yeah,
the kind of weirdos that are doing what we're doing.
yeah. Well, the other thing is we hope to turn this into a bigger deal in the future. So if you are watching, um, there are a few things that we can talk about that we might even get into on this chat. Like, John, I got somebody who's going to build me, he's an on-set carp. He works in the film industry, but he's going to build me like a full-up table with a TV in it, with some drawers and stuff. It'll be like nice. And we're even talking about like maybe doing a little video or something about it. Like the construction and whatnot. We're trying to figure out the best way to do it. We want something that looks nice. I was like, can we use
Yeah,
a pool table maybe and just build an enclosure for the TV in the
for the
center
TV.
so you have a nice felt roll area and stuff, right? And the pockets could be like cup holders, like we could refashion them
Yeah.
maybe. Anyways, but let's talk about this game.
Yes.
How did that go
Yes.
for you? What did you think?
Oh, I think it went pretty well. I think the flashback turned out, as well as it could have. And I think it did the job of, giving us something to do, make sure that we didn't just blow through everything.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think that was useful.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I agree. It was weird. So we were like retconning. Like basically, we didn't go to the Andros orphanage, and we didn't go to the social district. So what ended up happening was you guys saved Milivoy and went to the social district, dropped Irina off at Vasily's Manor and Lila as well, and then got the hell out of Valakai. Thank God. It's so refreshing to be out.
yeah, especially after the monster attacks.
Yeah. I
But
thought
yeah, we
for
were starting to get a
sure
little bogged down in there.
Yeah, I thought for sure you guys were going to like explore a little bit more than you did. Like, I think what happened was because you guys were coming from the Bones quest, like having not got the bones on time, you guys were like, "Oh, we got to do shit right away."
Yeah, yeah, we are now done with fucking around because we've already seen what happens. Like we don't know what does or doesn't have a time limit on it, and because of that, if we get a mission that seems like it should be done, we're gonna just go for it.
Yeah. As a DM, like it's funny because I'm like prepping for like you can see kind of if you go over to the winery, there's a few roadways going in a few different places. I was like, "Oh, all I want is just to get the hell out of Valakai. So long as we're out of Valakai, I'm happy because like I'm bogged down too. So maybe you'll go take a north road, maybe you'll take a south road. Like we'll hit a few of these places, and then it's like, no, we're going to the fucking winery.
Yeah,
And I was like, all right,
seems like everybody wants to. Because I mean, this one has been hinted to us for a while. Same thing with the bones. In that sense, it's like every time we go into the inn, they're just like, well, you should really look at the winery. Could you please look at the winery for us? There's a problem with the winery, and we could really use some help with that.
yeah,
So maybe the bad thing that happens there was just, we're officially out of wine now. Maybe that wouldn't have happened if we went there sooner. Uh, but yeah, no, it's interesting. Are the druids an original part of this story, or is that something thrown in for our campaign?
no. So the druids exist in this in Barovia.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So fun, happy coincidence that we happen to have a forest druid.
Well, yeah, I think as it was hinted, kind of in your interactions, like with the druid in there that you guys had, she recognized that you were a druid, and so she like said a few things about that, right? So it is the case that these druids just exist in this land, but the fact that you have a druid who is like separate from this order, was it you who said you should play that to your advantage, or who said
Yeah,
that? Yeah, and
yeah. I
then
was hoping. I was, they're like, you told them. He told us like, oh, they think you're one of them, and immediately, Sachi just decided to disavow them of that belief, as opposed to playing that up and getting any information we can get.
yeah, but that's in her character, right? Like she's lawful good, so
Yeah.
you know she wouldn't necessarily do that. But the trend that I'm noticing is that you guys are kind of like murder first, ask questions later, you know.
Yeah.
But you took the no fire thing to heart, so that's been the good so far. I was like, oh wow, no fire.
Well, I mean, the only person of us really capable of throwing fire about is Sachi, so
Yeah,
that makes sense that she wouldn't be doing that. I think she's super upset about it because it's her number one go-to attack.
yeah. Well, it's just the case that like I think see, her character so far has had kind of like a slow burn, like yours. Like you are here, you're looking for this wounded dusk elf, right? But like your character is, you don't have all the information you need, and neither does Sachi. Um, so it's kind of like I'm curious to see like what happens as time goes on here, as you guys continue to float, waiting for your prophecies to unfurl.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, Legolas's only thing really is this Dusk Elf.
Well,
Is
you
this?
guys did also panic when you got to Lake Zarovich, and you fucking like you were like, okay, fuck this sea fury.
Oh,
Let's
this
get the hell.
giant unkillable monster. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
We were not really into fighting that.
yeah, you killed like one of the little ones and left, but then you heard about these guardians from Leela, right? So
Yeah,
theoretically, you got to get north to find this guy, but he's coming for the festival. But the festival's, in a state, as it were. But you finally met Muriel. What do you think of her?
I mean, I could swear we had met her earlier. We hadn't seen her make the transition, but I'm pretty sure we saw her as a woman and as a raven before this.
Um, that is not necessarily untrue. Like you, I think you maybe saw her because when you first arrived at the Blue Water Inn, when Erwin came out of the door, you guys saw somebody in the
Yeah,
kitchen, and then you guys went in the kitchen and you were like, "Where's this person that was just here?"
yeah. And somebody I think said like, "Oh, that's Muriel, something or other." Uh, because after that, when the Raven came and spoke to Josh, Josh said, "Oh, hi, Muriel." And it seemed to me like we should all know that those two were the same person now.
Yeah, I don't think that it's ever been officially connected. Like, I don't think that he said in the kitchen or when. I think he was talking about after the fact because he had said something like, "Oh, a little bird told me," and then he mentioned Muriel. But I don't think it was implied. Maybe you took it that way that that was Muriel, but that was Muriel. So
Yeah, I
that's a
mean,
nice little bit of foreshadowing. Yeah,
I certainly took it that way.
yeah, yeah.
I'm a little surprised that nobody else did.
I forgot about that actually. So I guess it's possible that other people forgot about it as well.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
what are we at? Like 14 sessions at an average of 4 hours a session.
Yeah.
So like over 60 hours probably
Holy fuck. Yeah, when
of
you translate it to like a video game, like The Witcher or like any game, even like Borderlands and shit, it's like holy shit, this is like a feast of a game, like 60 hours. Maybe we got to
yeah,
speed it up.
60 hours and we're 30% through.
I think we're more than 30% through. I mean, we tackled the winery pretty good. There's a few things that still have to happen at the winery. You haven't gotten to the cellar level or
No.
anything.
Yeah. We just kind of like walked in, killed a few druids.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
then
that's about it.
you've also got this situation with these. You got these empty vials that you found on the druid, and There's a carriage with Irwin's shipment sitting there.
Yep, and I believe that that is one of the quests is to deliver that.
I think he paid you in advance, and you guys still haven't done
No.
it. Let me just see here.
The winery? I think he paid a part of it in advance.
Um, so yeah, this was
Yeah, we got the
investigate the
ticket
wine shortage, save the winery. But he basically paid you. He gave you 500 gold and the
and a
ticket,
ticket.
and he owes you. He wants the wine. He's going to give you $1,000 for it upon return. Um, but he basically gave you guys just a handful of money, and you just fucked off for however long.
Yeah,
Let the city burn down and let him run out of alcohol. But the festival's delayed, so hey.
it's delayed, so that festival is still happening.
Yeah.
Do we know about that? Like, do we know?
Well,
Has
as
anybody
it
mentioned to us?
so Irwin basically came and said like, you guys got to get the fuck out of town because Izek is like coming presumably, or the
Yeah,
guards are coming. So you guys like bailed out, but the town is in like no state to like the festival is not running. This is the day
obviously,
after. Yeah.
obviously. But like, is it postponed or canceled? And if it's postponed, do we have a way of finding out when it's postponed until?
So it is when you guys like from a metagaming perspective, because this is the challenge that I had as like a DM. I'm like, okay, so we have played the game up to this point like pretty strict to like the narrative of days and shit. Like you can kind of understand, okay, we came through the gates and then we like rested at the village of Barovia. Then like the next day we like set out to
Yeah,
the Sarah pool and then like we rested. And then we set out past the falls to get to Valakai,
yeah,
but past the windmill on the way, but then we rested, right? But now it's kind of like a lot of the things in the early game with Curse of Strahd is like pushing the DM and the player to like say things come up to give the sense of like a rhythm. Like we got to get here, we got to get there. That's like the railroading aspect, right? Once you hit Valakai, it's kind of like a more sandboxy thing. So I guess the
yeah.
answer is like the festival is delayed. The festival,
It's delayed until we come back.
yeah, like whenever you come back, the festival is started, and everyone's like, "Oh, we have our tickets," kind of thing, right? So we're
Yep.
out of that. Like, oh, well, it's been one night. Does that mean the festival's there? Oh, well, it's been a second night. Does that mean the festival? Like, I don't want to say, oh, it's in 3 days. Oh, it's in 2 days, because then it's kind of like, okay, then we're metagaming the time in between, and
Yeah, because
it's just
like,
kind
and
of like the next
then
time
we're
you're
gonna start
there.
thinking, yeah, and at this point, like you know us, you know the pen pals. It's like we're pretty logistical when it comes to some things. So it's like if you tell us, the festival's in 3 days, then we are going to use our time economically and like, okay, what do we have? We can hit this in one day, this in another day, this in another day. Then we'll go back to Velaki and we'll deal with everything.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Well, I want to get away from that a little bit because I want to be less like rigid, right? Like in the early game, it's like you're learning that like in other words, let's say for instance you guys decided we're not going to go back to Valakai, we're just going to knock off like 5 or 6 locations over the next 5 or 6 sessions. Then it's like it's out of the narrative. It's been like a month or some shit, right? So it's out
yeah,
of the narrative that this festival would have already occurred. But then it's just like you paint it another way. It's like, oh, this is the new festival, and like maybe you rotate an item in or out, so it's like that kind of stuff. But I want to get away from like, oh, you got to do this and this, and like we can just play narratively. Like,
yeah.
like how much time are you in Barovia for? Is it like supposed to be 1 week? Is it supposed to be 2 weeks? Like, or is it that you're just there for months on? You don't even know how long, right? Just going
And
around
time
doing shit.
probably works funny in Barovia.
Yeah. So in that sense, like you can kind of just go wherever, and I'm not so worried about it. But yeah, the festival's effectively delayed. Like I'm not gonna make you miss the festival as a punishment or something. Like it's obviously designed in the game, so
Oh yeah.
it's got to be like what I'm learning, which is like hard. It's not hard, but it's interesting to like wrap your head around it. Is that like there's a difference between okay, like success and failure obviously is a success or it's a failure. But like and you should feel good about one and feel bad about the other. But you shouldn't necessarily get punished for failure. You should be rewarded for failure in a way that is cool and exciting still, Because if you just feel like you're getting an event that punishes you, then you're like, well, that disincentivizes me. Like, I'm just like, in other words, the siege on Valakai and stuff like that. Like, that's a massive punishment. Father Lucian is like executed. That's like a massive punishment. But it should still be really like fun, right? And exciting and like having a good time. So having you guys leave Valakai and then just being like, oh, the festival happened when you were out. Like, there's no fun in that.
No, it's true.
So yeah.
It's, I mean, I'll bet if you ask us at this point, the punishment, like we probably all believe at this point that the festival is kaput. Because how would it continue? The whole town seemed to burn down, and now apparently the Baron wants us fucked up. Um,
Yeah, so it's, well, this is again, right? Like, you don't even know. Like, the town has been under siege, but you haven't really, like, you went to the inn and then
yeah, we
from the
didn't
church.
we didn't explore anywhere after that. We just
Yeah, so jury's out on how crazily the town is, like, affected, and also you don't even know the full metric or the full
scope.
extension of your choices, right? Because like certain districts that you didn't go to, you haven't been back there yet, right? So there will be, like, coming through Valakai again, there'll be a few changes. It's Act 2 now anyways, so some of the characters are just straight up retired in a sense, right? Like Father Lucian. His storyline is,
he's so retired.
yeah, he's about as retired you can get as a priest. And it's funny the way that, like, some things play out. Like, Irina is dead, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's got to have some major implications.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I mean, it's. What did you think of that Madame Eva vision? What was your take on that?
What exactly did we see there? So Madame Eva came up out of nowhere. Pull up. Is it in the quest log?
I don't think this vision is, but basically, she said, intriguing. My sight was true, but this was not what was fated. And then she turned around to face you and she said, one amongst you is divorced from the weave of fate. Rare is such a gift, such a curse. Yet this is not what I saw. Something has changed. Something is different. And then she said, perhaps Stanimir is right. There is no other reason for her to be dead. Perhaps he has found another way to break his curse. And then she said, I gotta find Stanimir, and she fucking took off.
So there's a lot of vaguety there. There's a lot. It's hard, I think, from a player standpoint, and especially most of us being like first-time players. A lot of us are playing, or a few of us at least, are playing from a very individual standpoint. You've given us individual missions and secret stuff to look out for. But overall, we don't seem to have an idea of like what our real big plan is besides, kill Strahd, that'll send us home. So with these like cryptic messages that we get, and like one of you isn't following the prophecy, it's like, well, none of us really knew what the prophecy was to begin with. So if we're not on it, nothing really changes for us.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, at least with me, probably for the others as well. It's like, okay, it's neat, it's cool, it's ominous, it means something more is going to happen, but we can't really dedicate too much to figuring out what it is because there's too many loose ends, there's too many pieces. So it's just like, okay, just file that on the back burner and we'll go back to doing whatever it is that's happening immediately.
Yeah. Well, I think that in the next chapters, you're going to start to get much more of a handle on how it all kind of coalesces. But I totally hear what you're saying. And I think, in fact, this is a byproduct of, like, I can't say it without spoilers, but there are some people that, like, you know already things about them, but you have not addressed these things with them. Like Rictavio being one. What is your take on this guy?
Like Rictavio is a great example. I mean, we don't know if he's trustworthy or not. We've seen him kill vampires, but we've seen him run away from vampires, and it's like I think if you asked the pen pals individually, they'd love to have a conversation with him. But I think as a bloodthirsty whole that we are, we'd be, hard pressed not to kick his ass and get him to tell us things. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, a little bloodthirsty. Um, yeah, and same thing with like,
it's
yeah.
like,
So I get what you're saying. That there's like a lot of obscurity. There's a lot of things like going on in the background, and the spotlight, as it were, or like the main singular core, is not as illuminated as it should be. But
yeah.
I can
And I mean,
appreciate that, but it will be, and I
it
believe.
certainly doesn't help that like none of us have any charisma to speak of, and none of our characters are the type of charismatic individuals who would care or like really get into these mysteries. Like none of us is a mystery solver, save for maybe Sachi. Uh, but Sachi's usually pretty tired by the end of the night and doesn't think to ask all the
Yeah,
relevant questions.
yeah,
Uh, so yeah, we just end up being as we are. We're a bloodthirsty group of adventurers who are just on our way through to like make a fortune and find our way home.
yeah,
And I think that's how we're playing it. So it's like I in a sense feel almost a little bad because I know that you've put in like a whole bunch of effort and work here in the detail and the minutiae of like who's doing what, what's the intrigue and everything that's going on. But you've unfortunately been given a group of PCs who are like, how hard do I have to hit it for it to not get up again?
yeah. Well, that's okay, and don't feel bad because I mean this is everybody's first campaign too, right? And by
Yeah,
virtue of running like Curse of Strahd, like had I known, I probably wouldn't have run it first. Would have done a one shot, but it doesn't matter because everything is a one shot, right? Like this has been 14 one shots that just seem to keep on going. But doing 14 individual one shots, like would it really have made a difference? But um, I think that I think maybe I haven't fleshed out this central sort of pillar of the narrative of exactly what is going on here as well as a first time DM. So I will aim to make that more clear, but also that has to like flow through the mouths of these damn NPCs, you know.
yeah.
So sometimes it's tricky, but
And that's the thing. It's like I said, none of us, even barring looking at the stat of charisma, which none of us have,
yeah,
none of our character builds are really those who are going to get super inquisitive about what's going on. Besides, like, how do we get home? How do we
yeah.
kill Strahd? This is what we believe to be true.
It's funny to me that nobody took charisma at all. Like I'm looking at it, people have negative charisma,
Yeah,
but
three of us have negative charisma, I
yeah,
think.
that is such a see as a gamer in video games. I always take charisma because like it's just funny. It's interesting to see choices, right? You don't expect people to take um, exactly the paths that they take either.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think part of me was expecting more other people to do charisma.
Yeah,
I think Faendal just wanted to make a strong boy. We had Clobber. Clobber had charisma. He was a
he did.
gladiator.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he apparently had mad charisma,
Let
which
me
would have been
see.
handy. I'm pretty sure Napoleon in his other campaign that he's doing right now is a bard. So he probably wanted to make a different sort of character. So he has charisma in that one, but not this one.
Yeah, here. You should be able to see Clobber in the enemies tab.
Oh yeah, there he is. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's like the opposite of my build, almost.
yeah. No dexterity. Decent intelligence. No wisdom though.
Yeah. And then strength and charisma. Oh man. Yeah, he would have been real handy to have with us.
Yeah, and he's not fully upgraded in this particular character thing, because this one is not like this
Oh yeah,
isn't the
he's
one
level
you
1.
even, yeah, you didn't even fight this one. But that's
Second
where
wind.
his stats were.
It's second wind and 2-weapon fighting.
Yep. But he didn't even. He didn't. I'm just reading all of his
He
things.
didn't even use any of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, he just ran away. You guys just basically. He wasn't even trying to kill you.
I mean, even in the first attack, the first time he died, he didn't use his second wind.
The first time. When? Oh, in combat?
Yeah.
That may have come after. Like, that could be a level 3 or something. Did you see read popular demand?
I'm looking at it right now, actually.
That's funny. That was
You can
like
always
the talent
find a
show.
place to perform. Usually, I think I did read this before. Usually at an inner tavern, possibly at the circus. Yeah, that would have been handy.
Yeah. That's just interesting. Different folks play the game differently, right? I would be the same, like doing some weird performance stuff.
Yeah, and I believe I think I had asked you if Clobber was doing or if anybody was doing a charisma build. I think I at least had banked on other people being the charismatic ones.
Yeah.
I wanted Legolas to just be a more mindless. Like he's not smart. He's not smart, not charismatic. He was supposed to be like a forest dwelling dwarf, like just like
Yeah.
a 170-odd-year-old wandering. He was supposed to be gruff, not say very much.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Little
Yeah.
mini tank guy, as it were.
Yeah, well, I
Seen
mean,
it
like I
all.
was gonna. Yeah, he's seen it all. He's been everywhere. He's, just kind of tired of shit. Like he was supposed to be just like, quiet, sneaky, climb things, jump over things. He's a monk. He was gonna be really cool and agile.
Yeah.
But that's not how he was allowed to grow. After Clobber's death, he had to step up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you've kind of had to pivot your character, which is fine. It's interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how everybody ends up. Anyway, so let's wrap it up for today. I just wanted to come in here and have a thought or two.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then, yeah, we'll do this again
Absolutely.
after the next game.
Yeah, it was definitely a good session. Looking forward to the next one.
All right.
We don't know when that's happening yet.
We'll figure it out.